Shalom, shalom, brother
I had
Kadah.
several students.
I want to start off by giving our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to all the brothers in this truth. You had Africans selling Israelites into slavery, even though to shift the guilt, especially Esau, he likes to say you had Africans selling Africans. They were selling their own people. So here's a teacher that says otherwise. And Esau likes to do this a lot because they don't want to take the blame. They don't want to take the guilt. But if you actually break it down, then it becomes clear as day, which he brings out some good points. But even past the points that he's saying, the truth is you had Africans, Hamites, selling Israelites into slavery. And that only played a very small part of it, because they were doing a lot of stealing, killing, robbing. The Edomites were. So let's let this play.
Speak asked about a TikTok they saw in which older white Americans were blaming Africans for
And really, it was all hell breaking loose because you probably actually had some actual Israelites trading against their own people too. You probably had that too. So you had all this stuff going on simultaneously.
I had several students this week.
Sorry, Salaki. But that still don't excuse what you did, Esau. Guess what? The other nations, they're going to be dealt with and handled too for their transgressions, for what they did to the Lord's chosen people. But that don't excuse what you did, Esau, the part that you played in it. So you're still guilty.
I had several students this week ask about a TikTok they saw in which older white Americans were blaming Africans for facilitating the transatlantic slave trade, and I thought I would set the record straight. Fairly small number of Africans did participate in the slave trade by bringing mostly prisoners of war out to the coast to be sold to the Europeans. But remember, Africans don't think of themselves as only one people, so they were not doing it to themselves. It would have been very difficult not to participate because European traders would exchange rum and guns for slaves, thereby fomenting conflict between African groups. So if you were an African chief who did not participate, you may find yourself on the next slave ship. In the case of the U.S., we had 1 million enslaved in 1800, we had 4 million enslaved in 1860, and the slave trade from Africa was banned in 1808. So that's almost entirely attributable to the domestic slave trade. Blaming Africans for the Middle Passage is whataboutism, but also falls apart with 60 seconds of historical scrutiny.
Yeah, and then something important that he said, which Esau does this a lot, man. He's very deceptive in the way he does things. So everything isn't what it appears to be on the surface. There's a lot of smoking mirrors here. So, yeah, if you're another tribe and you're going to war, you got Hamites going to war with the Israelites because they hating off of us, like all the other nations do. You're not going to let... Now, Esau's coming over here trading guns, advanced technology and stuff like that for slaves. So if you pass by and say, look, we don't want nothing to do with him, and he goes to your enemies and trade these things, then your enemies have the advantage over you. So it's a very tough decision that you got to make. So, of course, they're making these decisions like, look, so really it's Esau that was behind it. So even if you say, look, Africans were selling Africans, which is very surface, you got to dig into it deeper. Even still, who was tempting them? Who was giving them deals? Who was giving them the option to even sell slaves into slavery? Well, it will have to be the buyers. Without buyers or consumers, then you don't have a product. And who's the buyer? Esau. So all the blame still falls on him. And they've been doing this for a long time. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 4. Yeah, what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, which is so-called African nations, what we would call today. Come from Ham, though. And all the coasts of Palestine, will ye render me recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, would I return your recompense upon your own head? Why? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried them into your temples for godly pleasant things. So they've been against us. Because are they taking that silver and the gold directly from the Lord? No, they're taking it from the Lord's people. That's what the Lord means right here. So was Israelites getting along with different African nations? Some of them, but for the most part, all the nations have been against us. That's why all the nations want our promise and our blessing, our birthright. That's why you got so many different nations in the land right now pretending to be us and claiming right. But it's not for them. And the true Israelites will return home. But it says, in the children also of Judah, so the children of Judah, the children of Jerusalem, the people, right? Have ye sold to the Grecians? We know who the Grecians were. They were Edomites. That ye might remove them far from their border. And that happened to us all over again with the transatlantic slave trade. The African nations selling Israelites into the Grecians' hands, Edomites, the Romans all over again, and we were removed very far from our border. So we scattered throughout the whole world, but the boatload of us came over here in the transatlantic slave trade to be reunited with the rest of the 10 tribes over here in Mystery Babylon, America. And that's a fulfillment of prophecy. What's that, Jeremiah chapter 50? I think it's Hosea 1 and 11. That fulfills prophecy. Second Esdras chapter 13, how the 10 tribes got over here. And prophecy was for the boatload of us to come back together and come back to our Lord and return back to our Lord. That's the fulfillment of prophecy. So this has been happening, man. Let's cook. Deuteronomy 28, of course, 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I speak unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for slave man and slave woman, and no man shall buy you. So even if you say, well, African nations were selling the Israelites, and you're trying to put the blame on the African nations, which they're going to be dealt with too. Esau, when you brought us to the land, you still was selling us as slaves while we were over here in America and doing all type of wicked and abominational things to us. So you didn't buy us and then bring us back over here and then set up the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord with us. You didn't do that. So you're still guilty. So what's your point in even saying it? And no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall redeem you. Which gets us to who's going to redeem us. Here, let me see if I can find this real quick. Micah chapter 4, verse 10. Be in pain and labor, bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travaileth. For now shalt thou go forth out the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field. We dwelled in the fields of Africa. West Africa we migrated to, right? All through northern Africa. And thou shalt even go to Babylon. We know this is talking about Mystery Babylon. It's talking about Babylon, the great whore in Revelation chapter 18, you know. The golden city, right? Because of this. There shall thou be delivered. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thy enemies. Ancient Babylon, we weren't delivered. The Lord didn't redeem us from ancient Babylon. We went from that Babylonian captivity straight to the under the Persian and Medes. So that's how we know this is talking about a prophecy. This is talking about Mystery Babylon when it says Babylon right there. Because if you go to verse 1 in Micah chapter 4, it gives you context. But in the last days, it should come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord should be established in the top of the mountains. Has the mountain of the Lord been established? That's the kingdom. No, it hasn't happened. That's in the last days. And it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow into it. So with these two verses, 1 and 10, that tells us where if you believe that we're all the Israelites for these other groups out there, then that tells you where Mystery Babylon is. It would have to be America. Because where did we go into slavery, and where are we dwelling at and waiting for the Lord to redeem us? The boatload of us. Well, here in America, we're not dwelling in the Vatican City in slavery, waiting for the Lord to redeem us from the Vatican City. See? The Bible breaks it down itself, man. And this is for Esau right here. Because they be saying that because they feel like they want to take the blame off. So out here, man. Oh, man. They want to take the blame off themselves. And it ain't going to get them nowhere because, hey, they still going to get punished for it. The Lord knows what's going on. Jeremiah 49, verse 12. For thus saith the Lord, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup had surely drunken. It was our judgment. We wasn't supposed to go into slavery and bondage like we just got in the read. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? Esau, should you go unpunished for, trying to take the blame off yourself for the part that you played in the transatlantic slave trade. Should you go unpunished for these things? It says, thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord, that Basra should become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, a curse. And all the cities thereof should be perpetual waste. That's what's going to happen here in America. Now, this man on the screen, he could be an Israelite, because he's going into the truth, breaking out the truth. So that's the spirit. He could be an Israelite, not an Edomite. Because we were scattered amongst all nations. So you have men that come looking like that, but they're actual Israelites, so you judge it by the spirit. So with that, I'm going to say salvation to the elect. Shalom.